In the fall of 2013, I decided to change my language from I'm thinking about doing this thing to I'm doing this thing. And this thing would come to be called the Open Bench Project, or the OBP. So what is the OBP? It is an exploration into the processes of given ideas, physical bodies. It's a kind of a clubhouse or a gym with tools. It's a passion project, a platform for making and sharing and learning. It's a makerspace, a place for play and for curiosity, and it's my job. So I started squatting in the summer of 2014 on a long-forgotten spit of land on the edge of town. It had been a place, home for the homeless and a refuge for musicians. Basically, it was an unwatched escape right here on our doorstep. Earlier that year, I had been organizing classes around making at various people's shops, and it was time for the OBP to have a home of its own. So I had gotten a key from the owners of this rundown building so that I could show folks what I was thinking about. And without really asking permission, I started to improve the space. It started simply as sweeping and organizing so that the space would present better, but soon enough, my work crept beyond organizing, and I started to fix things. A broken water line, removing some mildewed carpet and a few rotten interior walls. Before I knew it, these rotten walls gave way to walls that were simply in my way. And then I added some walls, and then a bathroom, and an old heating system. Eventually, someone joined me, and then a few more. By December, there were 17 of us, and by March, we were over 50. At the end of the year, more than 200 people had joined the OBP. We were growing, running classes, letting kids learn, connecting communities, and helping small businesses. I talked a lot about the importance of trying and doing what's in your heart. I talked about failing fast and forward, and that the important thing being the thing that you tried. So everything was going great, but we had forgotten this one little thing, our lease. So see, while it was great that the owners had allowed us to squat, with no lease, we had no control. And by the summer of 2016, it was clear that we were going to need to move. The area was developing, and we were in the way. But we were offered another location by a different owner, another squat, this time in even worse condition. So we packed up our things and moved to another building. And again, as before, we started fixing things up, trusting that we would eventually get a reasonable lease. In February, however, we were asked by the building owners to stop all activity. We would not be able to continue where we were without first investing tens of thousands of more dollars into a building that we could get kicked out of in just 30 days' notice. I was crushed. Everything we had built was in jeopardy. The instability of it all was becoming ever more clear to me, and I was unsure what to do. I felt completely lost. I had become ashamed of and was in denial of my own project's shortcomings, its failure, the very thing I had encouraged other people to embrace. See, it turns out that admitting and accepting the shortcomings of your own passion project is quite hard. I had become overly invested in the initial model and was unable to see that it was simply not working. I needed to be honest about how the project was failing and about how I needed to ask for help. And so I talked to a lot of members. I got some really good feedback, and I did a lot of soul searching. If we spent more money, we could continue on the same path, but the OBP, as it had been constructed, was fundamentally flawed. And so by May of 2017, I made the decision that we would indeed move the OBP, and we would once again be without a home. So we went back to our roots, running classes in other people's spaces while looking for a stable space of our own. And then a funny thing happened, something that surprised me, giving me both pause and hope. 65 people maintained their membership at OBP while we had no shop, month after month after month, paying. For what? What I came to realize was that these people believed in what OBP stood for. To them, it was more than just a product, it was a purpose, it was an ideal. As it turns out, we had a community. And this community reached out to me with supportive notes and advice. Members connected with one another in helpful ways, coming together beyond the walls of the shop. This made it very clear that the OBP was about more than just space and tools. Eventually, we found a new location and a stable lease. In October 2017, OBP reopened its doors at 971 Congress Street after being closed for nearly a year. This time, our core was a bit more tempered, having been forged stronger through a common struggle. Today, we have over 125 members, and I am focused more than ever on the community aspects of our space, on the sharing, the helping, the teaching, and the learning. And now when I speak about makers asking for forgiveness instead of permission, I'm a bit more cautious. I say, well, actually, makers need to ask permission of themselves. If this thing all blows up on you, if it goes totally sideways, will you forgive yourself for trying? I'm glad that I did not quit. I learned a lot about myself and other people through this process. So what is the OBP? It's a third making things, a third learning how things are made, and a third social experiment. What happens when you start with trust, when you share what you have, when you can be comfortable with your imperfections? I was once the smartest guy in the room until someone joined me, and I've been sharing that title ever since. So I encourage you all to spend some time this week looking deeply at the built world around you, tell someone about your idea, and take a step towards that idea. And when you fail, as we all certainly do, pick yourself up and brush yourself off, and remember that sometimes when you try and push the world pushes back.